Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. Mental health is real. Seek help and the stigma. On the news this afternoon. Mixed reactions as Rivers emergency rule ends today. PDP cautions Governor Fubara against defecting to APC. Rivers moves to revolutionize revenue collection with new codes. Army arrest notorious IPOB commander in Imo, Gentle de Yahoo. Activist Sowore encounters activist Sowore countersues DSS over anti-Tinubu post. On the foreign scene, Israeli attack on Gaza Children's Hospital condemned. I'm Ifechukwu Muonyili with the news. Now, it is exactly 6 months today since President Bola Tinubu suspended the democratically elected government and legislators in Rivers State and appointed an administrator to oversee the affairs of the state. The president took the decision following the political crisis between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. The crisis led to the resignation of many of the commissioners who were loyal to the FCT minister and pitched the executive against the pro-Wike-led legislators who were the majority in the State House of Assembly. The legislative arm was also factionalized. The situation got to its climax on 28th of February 2025 when the Supreme Court nullified the council election organized by the Fubara administration, barred the federal government and its agencies from releasing the state's allocation, affirmed the Martin Amehule-led state lawmakers as the authentic lawmakers, and also ordered the governor to represent the 2025 budget proposal to the recognized lawmakers following the continuous disagreement between the executive and the legislators on the budget presentation and the threat by the lawmakers to impeach the governor. President Tinubu, in a nationwide broadcast, suspended both arms and appointed a former naval chief, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ebas, to oversee the affairs of the state for 6 months. Retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ebas was charged with, among other things, to restore peace, stability, and democratic structures in Rivers State. In June 2025, Governor Fubara and the FCT minister met with President Bola Tinubu and announced that they have reconciled their differences and agreed to work together. Now, 6 months after the emergency rule, the state's sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ebas, believes that he has successfully stabilized the state in accordance with the president's mandate. Administrator Ebas spoke during a public lecture with the theme Democracy and Good Governance held at the Government House on Tuesday.
The indomitable spirit of Rivers people cannot be broken. They endured, they persevered, and have remained steadfast. The stability we have restored is the foundation upon which democracy must now be rebuilt. Our guest speaker has done justice to the theme of the lecture, Good Governance and Democratic Dividends.
Ebas also gave himself a pass mark for successfully conducting a peaceful local government elections, reinstating democratic governance at the grassroots level.
By the grace of God, and with the cooperation of all stakeholders, we have come this far. Most significantly, we peacefully conducted the local government council elections, restoring democratic governance to the grassroots, the level of government closest to the people. Emergency rule was never a choice. It was a necessity forced upon us by insecurity, political impasse, and a breakdown of trust.
Now, he thanked Rivers people for their overwhelming support and called on all citizens to recommit to the values of tolerance, reconciliation, and collective progress. But some stakeholders in the state disagree, saying that the peace in the state may be fragile. First to speak is the right activist Charles Jaja, who told correspondent Bekotoka that the peace agreement may appear lopsided if Victor Okojumbo and 4 other lawmakers loyal to the governor are not reinstated alongside Martin Amehule and 26 others in the State House of Assembly. Now, he also expressed worry that most appointments into agencies and boards made by the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ebas, allegedly favor loyalists of the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike.
If the 26 lawmakers are returning without the inclusion of Okojombo-led group, certainly it means that there is no peace, that there's not been any genuine peace and reconciliation. And for the state to move forward, those group of persons must also be included, because bringing the 26 lawmakers while excluding the other ones means that the interests of those groups are not being considered, because every faction that was involved in the crisis, they should be given a fair ground, because we have seen so far that there's been a lopsided type of arrangement.
Also, the chairman of Defense for Human Rights and Democracy, Clifford Solomon, wants the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, to give a detailed account of his stewardship to Rivers people. Mr. Solomon told correspondent Mekotoka that Rivers people have the right to know how much was received from federal allocation and internally generated revenue and how much was spent.
The Defense for Human Rights and Democracy (DHRD) demand detailed account of stewardship from the outgoing appointed sole administrator of Rivers State, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, to the people of the state on what was received from the federal allocation, internally generated revenue, and other sundry funds that comes to the state, and how it was expended.
He also wants the records of all projects executed, completed, and commissioned made public.
It is also very imperative for the sole administrator to tell Rivers people projects executed, completed, ongoing, and commissioned in the 6 months of his reign. DHRD equally demand that the sole administrator open up to the people of the state how much is left on the coffers of the state. This unambiguous demand by DHRD will foster transparency, accountability, probity, and rumors of looting Rivers treasury.
However, a faction of the APC in Rivers State say they want. However, to a faction of the APC in Rivers State, they want Governor Fubara, who is a PDP member, to defect to the APC as soon as he is reinstated. Dalitu Nwuju, who is the spokesperson of the Emeka Beke-led group, said the party is ready to receive Governor Fubara to its fold if he decomes to the APC.
If I were the governor of Rivers State, I would immediately announce the defection into the All Progressive Congress. And we would gladly receive him into our political party if I were the governor. Because by the convention of our party, if he joins the All Progressive Congress today, he becomes leader of the party.
However, that advice did not go down well with the PDP. They advised Governor Fubara to remain loyal to the party and reject attempts by the APC to woo him. The PDP's Deputy National Youth Leader, Timothy Osadolo, told journalists that the governor must resist the pressure to defect to the APC. He also advised the governor to focus on holding accountable those who oversaw Rivers State during the emergency rule. He said Rivers people will be relieved if what he called the illegality brought on them is finally addressed. In another development, the sole administrator of Rivers State, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, is facing mixed reactions over his plan to issue an official government report on the August 30th local government elections. Recall that the sole administrator promised to release the report after receiving a report of the council election from the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. Speaking with correspondent Sebioroware on this, a constitutional lawyer, Dr. Innocent Ekwu, said the sole administrator has no constitutional power to prepare such a report.
Private transactions that torpedo, subvert the Constitution are illegal and unenforceable. But the governor will use his conscience. We are all going to when it comes, but we are going to provide him with professional, unbiased advice. And for me, I will especially advise him to use the time remaining in his tenure to work for the good of Rivers people. Do good to Rivers people so that Rivers people can remember him.
However, a senior advocate of Nigeria, Atinike Williams-Wobodo, disagrees.
It's not a document that an action must be taken upon. It's just an official documentation. This documentation has been received by us and it has become official. So that's the essence of a white paper. Currently, the man who is on the saddle is the sole administrator. So if he's saying, I'm doing a white paper, what he's simply saying is that I'm doing a document showing that I've received this report and I've accepted it.
Away from that, veteran Niger Delta activist and gospel minister Sokari Sobereko is urging President Bola Tinubu not to run for a second term in 2027, but to focus on restructuring Nigeria. Speaking at Isaac Borough Park in Port Harcourt, Sobereko said restructuring is the only path to peace, equity, and sustainable development for minority groups like the Ijaw. He recalled that the demand has been a long-standing aspiration of Nigerians' minorities, citing a promise allegedly made by the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo to his father and other Ijaw leaders. Sobereko, however, commended President Tinubu for projects such as the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and his intervention in the river's political crisis. He also credited the president for protecting Governor Siminalayi Fubara, whom he described as a good leader. The Niger Delta leader further appealed to President Tinubu to appoint Governor Fubara and his deputy, Dr. Ngozi Odo, as ambassadors of peace to represent Nigeria abroad. We'll go on a short commercial break and we'll come back. We will update you on the situation between the DSS and activists on Muonyili. Stay with us.
On 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Hey, welcome back. Now, residents of Ozuoba AIT Road have cried out over the stagnant flood situation, which they say is affecting both the road and their livelihood. They told correspondent Nnamdi Samwala that accessing adjoining streets and shops in the area is becoming a nightmare due to blocked drainages. They called on the government to help distill the drainages and fix the potholes created by the over 6 years stagnant flood. Moving on now, the Nigerian Union of Pensioners local government branch in Rivers State is calling on the state government to appeal to Argon local government administrator by Ifechukwu Ibas. In a statement, Chairman L.M. Enwodo and Secretary Pedro W. Chinda, the union called for payment of gratuities and pension arrears, incremental adjustment, pay rolling of retired officers, and payment of consolidated salary of officers retired from level 17. Now, they commended the sole administrator for his support and asked for swift attention to be given to their demands to help save retired local government workers who are currently living in very poor condition. Away from that, the Nigerian army has arrested a notorious commander of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB and its armed wing, the Eastern Security Network, identified as Ifeanyi Eze Okorienta, popularly known as Gentle the Yahoo. Okorienta was captured in his hideout at Akuihube, Okigwe local government area of Imo State during a joint operation conducted by troops of the 34th Artillery Brigade in collaboration with other security agencies. A statement by the Nigerian Army said the raid led to the recovery of an English pistol, 120 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition, 25 rounds of 7.6mm NATO, a cartridge, 6 mobile phones, military and police uniforms, as well as a German flag. Military sources describe the arrest as a major relief for residents of Imo State who have endured months of attacks, kidnappings, and extortion allegedly orchestrated by Gentle the Yahoo and his gang. In related operations, troops carried out coordinated missions in Adamawa, Katsina, and Kogi State, rescuing 12 kidnapped victims. 5 persons were freed in Madagali local government area of Adamawa, another 5 in Malufamshi local government area of Katsina, while 2 others were rescued in Lokoja, Kogi State. Separately, operatives of the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadin Kai neutralized 8 fighters of the Islamic State of West Africa province in Borno State. Several others with gunshot wounds were arrested. In other news, activist Muonyili has filed 2 fundamental rights actions at the Federal High Court, Abuja, against the Department for State Services, DSS, social media giant Meta, Facebook, and X-Corps. Now, in a statement released by his legal team on Tuesday and signed by Tope Temoku, the lawsuits were filed to challenge what the lawyers describe as unconstitutional censorship against Sowere's account maintained with Meta and X. Temoku said that the lawsuit is about the survival of free speech in Nigeria. Earlier, the Department of the State Service DSS also filed cybercrime charges against activist Muonyili and 2 others for allegedly making false posts against President Bola Tinubu to cause breakdown of law and order in the country. The criminal charges filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja has X Incorporation and Meta as 2 other defendants. In the 5-count criminal charges, Sowore was accused of using his official X handle page to commit an offense contrary to Section 24 of the Cybercrimes Prohibition and Prevention Act 2024. In business, the River State Sole Administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ifechukwu Ibas, has launched the adoption of the International Public Sector Accounting Standards, IPSAS, as a suite of new revenue codes for the State Internal Revenue Service. Addressing stakeholders during the launch held at the Government House in Port Harcourt, Ibas said the new revenue codes will empower the River State Internal Revenue Service, RSIRS, to capture previously overlooked revenue streams, deepen the tax net, and substantially enhance internally generated revenue, IGR. He also said that the reforms will position River State to easily access international funding and grants from institutions like the World Bank and the United Nations.
Drastically reduce leakages and give both citizens and institutions confidence in the integrity of our system. For the taxpayers, it means
Office, Israel Ebunefu, said the comprehensive fiscal overhaul is expected to unlock significant growth potential in key sectors including tourism, commerce, agriculture, real estate, and technology. In entertainment, singer Davido has been announced as one of the performers at the 2026 Coachella Festival, extending Afrobeat's growing presence at the world's biggest music stage. The multi-award winning Afrobeat hitmaker will be making his Coachella debut at the 2026 festival, for which Canadian superstar Justin Bieber, American singer Sabrina Carpenter, and Colombian sensation Karol G have been announced as headliners. In sports, former Fenerbahce coach Jose Mourinho is considering becoming Bruno Lage's replacement at Benfica after he was sacked following Tuesday's Champions League defeat against Karabakh.
And now we bring you news from around the world.
The health ministry in Gaza has condemned an Israeli strike on the Al-Rantisi Children's Hospital in war-battered Gaza City. A statement said the medical facility was struck 3 consecutive times, but no casualties were reported. At least 40 patients are believed to have fled the hospital, while 40 stayed behind with some staff. The ministry has called on all concerned parties to provide protection for health institutions, medical staff, and patients in Gaza's governorate.
I, Comrade Sunday Nnawowo, on
reactions as Rivers emergency rule ends today. PDP has cautioned Governor Fubara against defecting to the APC. Rivers State has moved to revolutionize revenue collection with new codes. The army has arrested a notorious IPOB commander in Imo, Gentude Yahoo. An activist Houari has countersued the DSS over anti-Tinubu posts. On the foreign scene, Israeli attack on Gaza Children's Hospital has been condemned. The news was edited by Martha Okere. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. I'm Ifechukwu Muonyili. Many thanks for listening.